Surprise! Hello guys and gals of the internet. I'm Mr. Chaos of YouTube and Twitch TV. It is that time again, isn't it? It is time to pick up the latest football game and play through a Premier League season with Manchester United. They are my team, and step also into the virtual commentary role for the season. We are in the 8th season of this, so I think at this point I don't really have to explain what we're doing here. You know, there's 8 seasons of that, so for the interest of time I will keep it short. It was a concept born in FIFA 14, and over the course of that season it became probably my favourite video of all time to make, and it was able to fulfill it was kind of able to fulfill a passion of being a commentator over a sport, thanks to being such a huge fan of Murray Walker. You may be surprised if you've been a viewer of the channel in the last year, because we are back on FIFA after playing PES 2020, which was the first time that I'd delved into and done this with PES exclusively. I learned of the mods in PES universe, became a more PC exclusive gamer, and I was like, I'm going to make use of everything I've got at my disposal and play PES 2020 for last season. And where it was a breath of fresh air to a degree, and FIFA and PES do have one thing in common: when it works and it looks great. But if you're having a day where the game is just going to screw with you and be down in the toilet, it's really bad. And PES at times, physics-wise, I would say, the game physics engine at times was awful. Awful. I remember so many instances. The most common physics problem was the way the tackling worked. And it's not the tackling per se. And I had this problem in FIFA, PES 16, where you would go in for a tackle and the guy would just either clip right through you or step past you like you weren't even putting pressure on him. And that was such a common thing last year as well. I remember this gameplay pattern where the AI would take a corner, it would take it short, the receiver would receive the ball, run around the edge of the box to the dead center of the goal. And they would always run down, get to the center, and then shoot. And 8 times out of 10 they would score. Sometimes you would save it, sometimes they'd miss. But it seemed to be such a common thing the AI doing, that the AI would do the same thing almost on every corner. Sometimes they would change it up, but more often than not they were doing this patented play, and the ball carrier, the dribbler, you couldn't get the ball off them. That was so bad. Like, the tackling was just so bad in PES last year, I'm going to be honest. It's not so much the tackling itself, it's the way it worked. Like, again, he would just step by you like you weren't even there. The AI in attacking form, like, using that, was so overpowered. You couldn't get the ball, you could get anywhere near him. And the tackling does work differently in PES to FIFA, but even still, like, you could try so hard to outplay the opponent, and the AI just wouldn't have it. There was, like, Spurs were just so overpowered in that game for some reason. And then there was other issues. The hold-up play for the AI was so good. Like, you could literally have an AI player just stand there, and you try to go for a tackle, and they move with you every time, and you couldn't get the ball off them. It was so hard in PES to get the ball, and it had nothing to do with the way the gameplay works. It was just these small little things that just didn't seem to work, or only seemed to work at specific intervals. And it was just like the tackling was just so, it just didn't want to work. When the tackling, it wasn't bad, it just didn't want to work, even when you timed to tackle perfectly. And like I said, with the hold-up play, and then this patented play from the AI, and then don't get me started on the foul physics. Oh my god, there was so many interruptions because the refereeing behavior was so erratic, I guess is the word. You know, sometimes it'd be a foul every time 2 players made contact, even though it was not a foul. Sometimes you would get the ball first and it would be a foul, And it was just like so many interruptions by fouls, some of which weren't even fouls. And if you got a foul on the edge of the box, 9 times out of 10 the AI would score the free kick. I kid you not, I had 0 penalty kicks given to me in last season in pairs. I had not one. And to be fair, I think the AI only had about 2 or 3. But there was constant like sometimes you would have a collision between 2 players. They would do exactly the same thing where they stumble forward, and the free kick would go to the AI. Like, what? And it was just like, I barely got a penalty kick and barely got a foul. And sometimes there would even be fouls, clear looking fouls of challenges, and it wouldn't be given at all. Even for me, I think I had that a couple of times. So physics wise, PES was just awful at times. And the epitome of it was in a game against Bournemouth, where I can't remember the scenario exactly, but I remember, I think it was either taking a corner or taking a cross, and Bournemouth get the ball, and Nathan Ake gets the ball, and for some reason his AI goes brain dead, runs towards the goal, tries to clear it, comes off the keeper and goes into the back of the net. I kid you not, it is actually there. It is actually there and live. It is hilarious. And it was just a comedy of just, that whole game was just a comedy of, it was just football comedy at its absolute finest. There was a penalty that Bournemouth had scored, and then I think for me, I tried to back pass to David De Gea, the goalkeeper, with Brandon Williams. For some reason, Williams, even though I was passing it back to him, the game decides to have him take this awesome shot that seems to spin, and it goes over David De Gea and into the back of the net as an own goal. That game was just like, I didn't know what to think. I was trying so hard not to break character and laugh, because it was just so hilarious how bad that game was. And then finally, the absolute garbage tier shit happened to me in the final game, and I didn't realise this until I went into editing. But basically, we were in the Champions League final. It was against Paris Saint-Germain. I was Manchester United, of course. And what happened was, PSG earned a penalty. Now I didn't even press the tackle button. Fred, who had made the foul, actually did this on his own accord. I didn't press anything, and it had been a foul that had been given, and then a penalty. Come to find out in editing that Fred didn't touch the guy who was on the ball by the time he got fouled. It was actually a dive. Because diving is a thing in PES you can do. You can actually do it. Now, sometimes you'll get booked if you do that, because diving is against the rules. But for somehow the AI fooled itself by diving to the floor. Fred was... I think the guy was facing the goal, and Fred was 2 or 3 steps to his right, makes a sliding tackle that misses him completely, and it's a foul, and it's a penalty. Now, thankfully, justice was done, and David De Gea managed to save it. I managed to actually save it. There was actually one penalty kick that Harry Kane took, and De Gea had saved it, and it still went in, proving how OP Spurs were in that game. Yeah. And I was just by the end of the season, I was like, thank God that's over. Because I was just so frustrated with the game in a physics sense. When it works, it was wonderful. There were times when it would just be absolutely glorious to play, and everything would come off that you wanted to press, and it'd be beautiful. But when it has a day where it just reaches the pits, oh my God, did it reach the pits? You know what I mean? And it was, I'm not bashing the game. I just think physics-wise, it was just so bad last year. It gave me vibes of FIFA 18. It really did. And it was just this game is so bad in a physics sense. But even though it was like that, I still wanted to do the next season on PES 2021. And the thing that actually enticed me to do that was actually the involvement, or the inclusion rather, of Ryan Giggs as the manager person for the game. Konami, I'm gonna praise Konami here because they were very honest. They came out when PES 2021 was in development. They came out and said, we're going to put all our efforts after PES 2021. We're going to put all our effort into putting PES on our new game engine. Now I think it's called the Fox engine, I believe. And we're going to put all our resources into that to make PES 2021 the best it can be on this new engine. And I can understand that. That's perfectly fine. That's awesome. And then they came out and said, we're still going to release PES 2021, but we're going to call it a season update. So why are we on FIFA this year? Well, I'm going to be honest. When I played a couple of games of PES, I didn't feel anything had really changed. I really didn't feel it. The free kicks were still overpowered. The AI would score 9 times out of 10. The foul physics, everything was still there that frustrated me in PES 2020. And I was like, I thought they were going to address this, and it doesn't look like they did. Now, I'm not going to bash on Konami for that, because EA and FIFA have done the same thing for years. But, yeah, physics-wise, PES was, no, I wasn't feeling it. So, I've gone, to be fair, like I said, I'm not a FIFA fanboy, but I do love its authenticity. And FIFA is like Call of Duty to me. I play it because it's familiar and I know what I'm getting. And I also have an EA Play Pro membership, which is a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription depending on what deal you want. And that gives me access to all EA titles. So that'll be Star Wars The Force Unleashed, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Apex Legends, FIFA, Dead Space, Mass Effect. You know, so not only am I playing FIFA, I can also bring out playthroughs like Dead Space. I wanted to do Dead Space trilogy playthrough for the longest. Mass Effect, I really want to check out the original trilogy anyway. Andromeda, not so much, but the original trilogy was so like critically acclaimed, and I want to check it out and experience it for myself. Apex Legends, like I said. You know, just Need for Speed if I want to go into a Need for Speed. So I'm getting such a big catalogue of games with EA Pro membership, and it gives me FIFA, the whole game, with EA Play Pro instead of waiting for it to be on the Vault, for example. So I thought, why not? You know, I know I probably look like a FIFA fanboy right now, but PES just didn't change enough for me to be convinced, and to have I didn't want to go through all that frustration again. So FIFA, I might end up getting frustrated with this anyway, but at least it's familiar. I know what I'm getting. And to be honest, I did play a couple of games of FIFA before doing this, and there was actually one, and to jump into the career mode for the first time and see what all the thing was about with the trading and the sim matches and everything. So I decided to break it in through the first 10 hours within EA Play Basic membership, as it were. And I played one game in the career mode. I had 2 free kick instances where I earned a free kick. The first, I took it with Bruno Fernandes. I hit the post with the first one and bounced out. The second one bounced in and I scored it. And I kind of smiled to myself and said, I missed that. Because free kicks in PES I cannot get for the life of me. I practiced so much, I just could not get one in at all. So that kind of really felt good to me when I went in. I was like, yes, I finally scored a free kick. That felt good. So here we are. The gameplay is kind of swaying me. It's the same as FIFA 14, but at least with this as well, I'll have all the squad members I want that weren't in PES, like Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, for example, because he plays for Oldham, and they're in League One, and PES doesn't have League One. So, and I obviously have all the loans like Layard and Dallo, and I'll be able to bring them back, and James Garner as well. I'll be able to bring the always back with simple presses of a button, and yeah, time to go back to FIFA and going back to where it all began for the Coach Pop era. So we went into Season 3, played through it, And what ended up happening was we won the league again. It was handed to us because Spurs went unbeaten for the first half of the year, and all of a sudden we go on this crazy run and Spurs drop points at vital points of the year and lose the league on the final day. But here's where... Now we are going to follow on from the real life results of last year, and the reason being is that even though that happened, we didn't actually see it. Because I recorded the final 4 matches of the season, but my recording software decided to record the wrong monitor and the footage was lost. I didn't realise that till after the fact. So I think, to be fair, because we didn't see it, it didn't happen. So we are going to follow on from last season with Liverpool being the league champions and Arsenal being the FA Cup winners. But there is one thing we are going to change, and we are going to change the Champions League winners, because we did see that game, and I think it was the most amazing. That was probably the best game of PES I'd ever played. Everything happened, it was crazy, and we ended up winning it by 2-1 against Paris Saint-Germain, because it was so amazing, and David De Gea was a hero, and it was just had an amazing story feel to it. That's what we're going to take through into this season. So Manchester United in this season are going through as the champions of Europe. We are going into this season as champions of Europe. So we'll be in the Champions League, we'll be in Group A. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But what about the story I was doing? Because obviously, as I said, with Coach Pop, I ended it because of Ryan Giggs being in PES 2021, and I was initially going to do the United Way Season 1 with Ryan Giggs coming in as manager, but as I said, with PES's physics, it didn't really sell the game for me. So I decided, I was thinking over in my New Year's update, do I go back to FIFA, do I stick it out for PES? And I didn't really want to stick it out with those really bad physics that PES has. And like I said, I played 1 or 2 games of FIFA and I immediately felt better. I felt comfortable and somewhat better than I did with PES. So what does that mean for the storyline? Well, it means, because there is a manager curation tool in this game, we're going to do a U-turn. We're going to bring Coach Pop back for a final season. And that's why I said back to where it began earlier. Because we are going to bring Coach Pop back. Basically, the story is we win the Champions League, and because we reached the FA Cup semi-final in real life, but on the final day of the Premier League season, Coach Popovich announces that he will be stepping down at the end of the season, which was the end of his contract with Manchester United, coincidentally. And he says, yeah, I'm going to leave at the end of the contract and win or lose or draw in the Champions League final, which in this storyline we go on to win, because that's what happened last year. But basically, over the next week or so, his contract doesn't run out until a week or so after. And basically, the majority of the players that have been bought by Coach Popovich, say Van der Beek, Tellez, all that, we'll take all that through. Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, Greenwood. Particularly the improvement over Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford, because Mason Greenwood was OP in PES. He really was. Basically, the majority of players go to some form of the board and they go, is there any way that we could convince him to stay? And basically, the board call Coach Pop into a meeting and they discuss some things. And they said to Popovich, look, with the virus that happened in real life, you can't really call that a fulfillment of contract. It went overdue anyway because, the season went longer with 3 months on the sidelines, as it were. So it wouldn't really be fair to have a completion of contract that you didn't really get to complete because we had 3 months off from no football. So we've had some talks with the players and we want to offer you this 1 more season option. Popovich goes away and he takes it. And basically it says that it's a 1 season extension, and you have the green light to sign whatever you need to get over the line in the Premier League and the FA Cup. Because obviously we've won the Champions League, but the board and the players feel they're just maybe 1, 2, 3 signings away from fulfilling and reaching the promised land in the FA Cup and the Premier League in particular. The FA Cup, Coach Pop has been hugely unlucky in the storyline, and the league has been getting progressively better as he's learned his trade. So, influenced sort of by the Last Dance series and from the Phil Jackson and the Chicago Bulls, the series called The Last Dance is on Netflix. Please check it out because that is such an awesome series. Inspired by that, the Coach Pop era continues. It's the final push. We're bringing him back, lads. We're bringing him back for one more push towards the 2 trophies that Coach Popovich has come very close to in previous years. He basically has the green light to do whatever means necessary, which obviously the board wouldn't do in real life because the Glazers, but this is alternate reality. So yeah, I thought I would make use of this manager curation tool. Now bear in mind, from what I remember, I think in like FIFA, the management tool is rather basic. You know, there isn't really a lot of big customization options, but hopefully what we can come up with here will be more than enough to actually suffice, as it were, and it'll be good enough, hopefully. So let's do this, and it would be to be fair, I think 4 seasons would be a nice round number to end the story on, unless I choose to extend it maybe for FIFA 22 or PES 22, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what we can actually do there. So let's see. This might actually take a while, so I'm actually just gonna skip past this and come back with the finished article, as it were. Alright, I don't think that looks too bad for a first attempt. Obviously, I'm working on very basic kind of settings here, because I don't think this manager creation tool has been perfected yet. But it's not bad for a first attempt. If anyone has like any better attempts at doing a Gregg Popovich for football, send them to me and actually let me know, and I'll make any necessary adjustments. Just to say on the beard, unfortunately, there's no white color for beards, I think, which is a bit odd. I don't know why that's the case. Looking at the photos I've noticed his hair is a lot longer than I thought. So this hair might be completely wrong. But I just, if the beards were white, like the one option I could do for his beard, let's say, like, I don't think his beard is that kind. Well, it probably is that kind, actually. It's probably a little bit less. But as you can see, if I go into the colors here, like, all the colors are, like, kind of whack, to be honest. It's not really a lot of colors, option-wise. Like, the closest to white is that one, and that looks more brown. So if there was a white, I'd probably go with that. But unfortunately, there isn't. You know, it looks more brown. Unfortunately, yeah, it's just all these. That one doesn't look too bad, actually. It doesn't look too bad. I could do that. It's just the color is the color's a bit there's not much choice there. That would probably do. But like I said, there's not really a lot of choice. Actually, that looks the best one. Just set it to that. It looks kind of see-through. That probably is the best one, actually. So yeah, we'll probably have to go with something like that. I know it's not perfect. You know, my curation skills are practically zero when it comes to copying someone else's face. You know what I mean? And it does take kind of a while. I've probably come close a couple of times, but I've never fully recurated myself. And sometimes when I use like a game face or something like that, It comes out all demorphed and weird looking. So that's the initial attempt. If anyone knows how to do a better Gregg Popovich in this game, let me know and I'll make the changes. I'll give you all sorts of credit and stuff, I guess, from what I could possibly do. Obviously I won't be able to send you any money, because, you know, but, you know, if anyone would like to do that, that'd be quite greatly appreciated, but I don't think that's too bad for a first attempt. So yes, Manchester United, as you probably would come to expect. I haven't played FIFA in like a year. I missed FIFA 20 completely, so I'm probably going to be a little rusty going into the first couple of games of the season. First thing we're going to do is change things in the European competitions. Now, I'm assuming Bayern Munich did win the Champions League last season. So I'm assuming that the winners are always in Group A, because I believe Real Madrid were in Group A the season before, last season, because they won the Champions League the season before. So I believe the winners always go through in Group A, like they automatically get placed there. So the one thing we're going to do immediately is move. We're going to move United to Group A. No, we're not. You cannot have multiple clubs from the same nation in this group. Really? Who's in the... What? Oh! RB Leipzig is a German team. I didn't know that. I thought they were an Austrian team because of RB Salzburg. There it is. But no, only RB Salzburg are an Austrian team. Okay, let's see how we can figure this out then. I suppose one thing we could do is put Group A in Group H and Group H to Group A with us at the top. So, basically, Paris Saint-Germain, if we move them to there and then put them there... Now that's where we'd go. Let's restart that. I know what I want. I know what I could do. We could move RB Leipzig in with Bayern Munich then, and then move them down to third, and Munich up to first. Let's move United for Salzburg. Put them at the top. Paris Saint-Germain was second, weren't they? Or were they group leaders? I don't actually know. Shit. It's gonna be a bit difficult to remember. Alright, so Paris are those leaders. So what we'll do is we'll move these. Put Bayern there. Put RB Leipzig in third. Right. So it'll be a bit like this, I guess. It'll have to be PSG, it'll have to be second, and then third. Bayern Munich Group A, Atletico, Salzburg, and Lokomotiv Moscow. Yeah, that's pretty much right, I think. Right? Yeah, that's pretty much right, because, yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's just do it again just to make sure. Yeah, that was right. Okay, so Leipzig, and then if we move Bayern up here, and then move Bayern where not Bayern, PSG. There, United can lead the group. Salzburg would be third. So that, and then switch them for Lokomotiv Moscow, and then like that. That's pretty much it. That is pretty much on point. Yeah, so the winners of the Champions League are always in Group A, I believe. And because we're moving into this season as the champions of Europe for the storyline purposes, that's how it'll be. But Group H and Group A will have to be swapped completely because of RB Leipzig and Bayern Munich. I didn't know they were in the same league. I thought RB Leipzig was an Austrian team because of RB Salzburg. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, with the Europa League, I'm assuming that they'll probably be wrong. Let's see. I don't know. I know I had to do this with Pez. I had to fix up the groups because they were all wrong. Oh, there's Spurs. I will double check that. Give me a minute. I'll just go and find out if these groups are right or not. So the Europa League is pretty much as accurate as possible. The one thing I am worried about is how the Champions League is all set up now. But that took a good few minutes to sort out. But as far as I can see, they're pretty accurate. I'm assuming this one is correct. I'm not sure who they are, to be honest. But I think everything else pretty much checks out, I believe. Yeah, I would say all those kind of check out. Yeah, so that's pretty much done pretty much as accurate as possible. I mean, technically it doesn't really matter unless we drop out of the group stages of the Champions League like we did in real life. But that's about as accurate as I could get it, more or less. Took a goddamn long time though. A lot of the teams are actually in the game. There's only very few that aren't. So I'm actually impressed. So that's that done with. International job service disabled. We're gonna have the financial takeover off. I think you can enable that as many times as you want now, which is pretty sweet. But we are going to disable the first transfer window, and this is the last of the big changes I will announce in this playthrough this year. We are going to disable the first transfer window. We're going to keep the squads as accurate as possible. But of course, disabling the first transfer window means that I will not be able to make any transfers until January. But as for for all the other people you will see in this career mode, I've already made those signings and brought them over. Now, I know it could be seen as cheating a little bit, making my signings and then going in. But I don't think it's really going to matter. I don't think I've overpowered myself. And that is pretty much it for this introduction. So I guess the last thing to do is to announce that the first match in the Premier League, unbelievably, will be against Spurs. So what a way to kick off the season with the kind of semi-grudge match between Jose Mourinho and Gregg Popovich. That is going to be some opening day tasty fixture. Just to move on to the calendar a little bit further, Basaskor is the first Champions League match. Now, I think if I remember rightly, I think we played PSG, or that actually might even be correct. I really can't remember too well, but obviously bear in mind that the day and fixtures might be a little bit different because, of course, Manchester United are in a different group as opposed to in real life. You know, in real life we were Group H, and in this scenario we're in Group A because we are the current champions of Europe. And upon reflection of looking at the groups, there was one small change. I will notify you of that right now. I think the only change, going the wrong way, there was, like I said, there was a slight change, and I think the only change was, I think, to Group H, was it? Let me find it. Yeah, Group F. Group F had AZ Alkmaar as the fourth team in Group F, but of course, in real life, we put them in the Europa League because that's where they were in real life. So it's changed to SC Heerenveen. But all the groups, I've double checked and triple checked, and all the groups apart from that are pretty much how they were in real life. Apart from obviously the obvious change of Manchester United being in Group A with and obviously Group A's a real life group being down in Group H. So that is that's pretty much it. We are ready for Season 4 of the Coach Pop era. It unexpectedly is continuing, but like I said, I might as well have made use of the manager curation tool, and now we have the perfect backdrop for it, as Coach Popovich, as I said, has been given a 1-season extension and the green light to win the FA Cup and the Premier League that have eluded him thus far. He has come so close, but maybe this season he can finally go over the line. Can he do it? There's only one way to find out, as the Coach Pop era continues with Season 4, and it's the final push for Coach Popovich.